Good morning, Little Masters, and welcome back to today's Tolkien Times, a Prancing Pony podcast production. I'm the Man of the West. Let's keep week 81 going with another Word Nerd Wednesday. Now, having introduced the entirely new segment this series of Túrin Bar Tuesdays, I've been using Word Nerd Wednesdays this series to look at some of the new names and words of places and things that we encounter in those readings. Last week, we looked at a lot of names. It was a busy week. We took a look at Dor Cuarthol, Gwyndor, son of Gwylin, Gurthang, and really, I ended up looking at that name a week too early. Sorry. We looked at Anfauglith, Lembas, and the river Narog. This week, we're going to look at the names of some important people in Nargothrond and more of Túrin's names for himself. Let's start with the place Túrin finds himself in yesterday's reading, Nargothrond. Now, we looked at the river Narog, and that name is an element in the name of Nargothrond. The name is a Sindarin combination of the river name, Narog, and the word Othrond, which means underground stronghold, according to an entry in the War of the Jewels. But let's look at the construction of Orthond for a moment as well. It's interesting. It comes from two words that should be a bit familiar if you've been paying attention on these Word Nerd Wednesdays. The first element is Ost, meaning fort, fortress, or stronghold, as in Ost in Evil, fortress of the Eldar, Angrunost, Iron Fortress, another name for Isengard, and Fornost, Norbury of the Kings, which literally means Northern Fortress. The second element is Rond, meaning vaulted or arched roof, vaulted chamber or cavern, heavens as a roof of the world. Rond shows up in a place we'll visit on Middle-earth Map Monday early next series, Aglarond, Glittering Cavern, as well as Merathrond, the Great Hall of Feasts in Minas Tirith, because it's domed. And then the elves' name for Khazad-dûm, Hadadrond, which is Dwaro Delph, but it's literally Dwaro Vault. You might also remember Rond from Elrond's name, Star Dome. So, Ost and Rond, Ost becomes Oth when connected with Rond, so Ost and Rond create Othrond, and then you add the river Narog and it becomes Nargothrond. Now, at one point in 1957, Tolkien thought about deriving this name, which had been around since the Lays of Beleriand in the 1920s, from the Khuzdul Naru Kuthun, right? Just like Narog is from the Khuzdul, he originally was going to have Nargothrond come from the Khuzdul, but he would later decide that the Khuzdul name for Nargothrond would be Nuluk Kizdin. Now, the king of Nargothrond, Orodreth. He's the son of Angrod, which makes him Finrod Felagund's nephew, and a grandson of Finarfin. He may also be the father of Gil-galad, but that mess will take an episode at least to sort through some other time. He must be quite the avid hiker, because in Parma Eldalamberon 17, his name is translated as Mountaineer. Now, if you're looking for that, it's not under his name. It's under the entry for the root Rete, R-E-T-E, climb, which becomes Reth, climber. That's combined with the word Orod for mountain, Orodruin, Mount Doom, but mostly seen in its plural form, Ered. Interestingly, the name Orodreth was derived from his Quenya name, Artaresto, which appears to use the prefix form Arta of the word Arata, meaning noble. The second element? Well, go back to Parma Eldalamberon 17. The entry right under the R-E-T-E climb is Reth, remain in same place, hence be unmoved or patient, often in names Andreth, long-suffering, Arodreth, noble endurance. Orodreth, but not Orodreth. Interesting, because the cinderization of Artharesto would be Rodreth. And thanks to eldamo.org for this, as morphology is beyond my reckoning. That Rodreth was then modified to Orodreth because of his love of the mountains, and that's found in Peoples of Middle-earth. Now, his daughter, the young woman torn in two between Gwyndor and bad boy Túrin, is Finduilas. Now, unfortunately, beyond the initial element of her name, we don't really have anything. That first element, Fin, means a single hair or filament. We see it in the names of Fingon, hair shout, and Finrod, noble hair, as well as Glorfindel, which is golden hair, but in that case, the element is actually Findel, not Fin, and Findel means head of hair. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at a few of the names of Túrin given in yesterday's reading. We'll start with Agarwain, son of Umarth. We looked at Umarth in week 75 because it was a name given to Húrin, albeit not one that he knew about. It simply contains the negative prefix U and Amarth, meaning fate. But Agarwain is translated for us directly in the text as blood-stained, and we have to take that at face value because this is actually the only place where the word Agar is used for blood. Same with the lenited form wine of Gwain for stained. It's not seen anywhere else. In the etymologies, this name was Iorwerth with the same meaning. Now, another name, this one he's given, not taken for himself, is the name of Adanavel, the elf man. Pretty straightforward if you look at it. Adan is the Sindarin word for man as a species, and we see it in the plural Edain, as well as names like Dun Adan, man of the west, and one of Elrond's sons, Eladan, elf man. In fact, Adanavel is really the mirror image of Eladan's name. Eladan is elf man, while Adanavel is man elf. The second element, Evel for elf, is seen in names like Aravel, noble elf, and Ethelond, elf haven, along with a few others. Finally, there's the name Mormegil. Once again, it's translated for us directly in the text, doing my job for me as usual. But let's look at the elements anyway. It's a Sindarin combination of morn, black, and megil, said to mean sword. Now, let's get the easy one out of the way first. The morn element is one we see in a lot of places, usually, though, just as mor, like in this word, Mormegil, as in Moria, black pit, Mordor, black land, Morgul, black arts, necromancy. The megil element is less frequently seen. There are a couple of the kings of Arthedain had the lenited form of Vegil in their names. Malvegil, the 6th king, whose name likely means sword of gold, and Arvegil, the 11th king, whose name means noble sword. Now, Megil is cognate with Quenya Makil, which we see in a few names of Gondorian kings. Calmakil, sword of light, and Narmakil, fire sword, for example. And folks, that's it for today's Word Nerd Wednesday. Come back next series as we wander the wide, wild, wonderful world of words weekly on Wednesdays. And if there's a word you want to know more about, just let me know. Email barnum@theprancingponypodcast.com. Please visit patreon.com/TolkienTimes to learn how you can support the show, get an ad-free feed, a monthly hangout, bonus episodes, and more. And then join me again tomorrow on today's Tolkien Times for Third Age Thursday. Podcast listeners, please be sure to subscribe to the TTT in your podcast apps. For those on YouTube, subscribe to the channel to get all the PPP productions. And everybody, please be sure you're following @PrancingPonyPod on all your social media. Finally, as Faramir says, go with the goodwill of all good men.